Hello, folks. This story was sent to me by a subscriber and is intended for educational purposes only. Thank you for watching. 1,200 micrograms, LSD, The Clockwork Carnival. I had always been curious about LSD, but never quite dared to dive deep. One weekend, armed with 1,200 micrograms, a quiet cabin in the woods, and an absurdly large hat I bought just for the occasion, I was ready to embrace the madness. The sun was setting as I dropped the tabs, a flickering anticipation humming through my veins. At first, everything looked like a retro kaleidoscope, trees bending in rhythmic waves, leaves morphing into tiny dancing clowns. The giant hat suddenly transformed into a grand carousel, complete with galloping wooden horses that winked at me. I swear one tipped its imaginary hat and said, "Welcome to the show." As twilight deepened, the forest became a sprawling carnival. Ferris wheels spun with impossible speed, and neon lights popped up from nowhere, illuminating cotton candy clouds that smelled like nostalgia and bubblegum. The ground beneath me rippled like liquid taffy, and the air buzzed with carnival music, an uncanny mashup of circus tunes, video game bleeps, and whispered jokes I couldn't quite catch. I wandered through this absurd dreamland, where clowns juggled flaming marshmallows, and the bark of the trees echoed with laughter. A talking squirrel wearing a monocle approached, insisting I try the enchanted popcorn. I took a handful, and suddenly the popcorn kernels popped into miniature fireworks that exploded with tiny bursts of glitter in my mouth. The squirrel nodded solemnly and disappeared in a puff of confetti. Everywhere I looked, faces emerged from the shadows, some friendly, some mischievous, painted with swirling patterns and oversized smiles. One tent, adorned with spinning gears and clock hands, beckoned me inside. As I stepped through the flap, I entered the Clockwork Carnival, where time itself was the main attraction. Inside, clocks spun backward and forward simultaneously, their hands melting into impossible shapes. The carnival barkers were bizarre automatons with painted smiles and ticking hearts, inviting me to ride the time twister. Hesitant, but curious, I climbed aboard a carousel horse that ticked and talked with each movement. The ride hurled me through loops of memories, flashes of childhood laughter, forgotten dreams, and echoes of conversations I'd had years ago, but never quite remembered. Suddenly, I was floating in a sea of clock faces, each one ticking out moments from other people's lives, joy, sorrow, confusion, and delight. I realized that time wasn't linear here. It was a playful puzzle. A carnival game with no rules except to enjoy the ride. At one point, the carnival shifted again. I found myself in a hall of mirrors, but instead of reflecting my face, each mirror showed a different version of me. Some younger, some older, some wildly exaggerated. One mirror had me with 3 eyes and a giant mustache, waving cheerfully. Another showed me as a child with sparkling wings. I laughed uncontrollably, realizing that the carnival wasn't just around me. It was inside me too. As the night wore on, the Clockwork Carnival began to slow, the neon lights dimming to soft glows. The giant hat carousel gently lowered me back into the woods, where the trees had returned to their natural colors, but the laughter still echoed faintly in the breeze. I sat under the stars, feeling like I'd danced through a dream, stitched together by gears, laughter, and candy-colored chaos. trip left me with a silly grin, a heart full of wonder, and a newfound appreciation for the strange, whimsical clockwork ticking inside us all.